This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Tucker Carlson is a buffoon. Tucker Carlson has a brain that's like comprised of boiled broccoli. Tucker Carlson is if you find a bloated piece of driftwood on the side of the beach or has washed up on the shore, that's Tucker Carlson. If you just affixed some googly eyes to it and a mop of hair, you would have Tucker Carlson, who is shame-free, dignity-free, lacks the ability to be embarrassed or humiliated, apparently. Because last night on his show, they were talking about Glenn Youngkin's win in Virginia for the gubernatorial race, and had Brit Hume on, who is a colossal disappointment, separately and apart from Tucker Carlson. And they got on the topic of critical race theory, which I've been talking about for a long time, or at least as long as it's been a stupid culture war point of interest for the right. And the only reason that it's a stupid culture war point of interest for the right is because of Donald Trump and leaders of the Republican Party. And I say that to preempt something you're going to hear Brit Hume say, because I'm going to play a clip here where Brit Hume says, well, or maybe it was Tucker, that maybe parents had a lot more time on their hands during the pandemic to pay attention to what their kids are being taught. That's not why this is a culture war right now. It's a culture war because it was initiated by Donald Trump. Critical race theory, not being taught in schools. It's a complex legal theory taught in law schools. But you're going to hear Tucker Carlson, who's been yammering on about critical race theory for quite a while. You're going to hear him say, I've never figured out what critical race theory is, to be totally honest, after a year of talking about it. Because, you know, if something is truly an existential threat to the future of our country and the education of our children, and you really believe that in your heart, you don't learn about it. You just talk about it and really not understand what it is. They show their hands at every turn. And the reason they show their hands is because they know their audience isn't smart enough. Their audience maybe they don't care about what the truth is. But it is disgusting. Watch this clip. We'll put the timer up in the corner if you've already seen it, so you know how much is left. If you don't like listening to his stupid voice, and you'd rather listen to my stupid voice, you can skip ahead following where the time is. Watch this.
What's interesting, though, is that he didn't run on tax cuts. I think that was a feature of his platform. But he ran on what we are told are the divisive social issues, critical race theory, what our kids are taught. I mean, he went right to the things that people talk about on social media, and he won on that. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you one thing, and that is that there's an argument about this whole question of critical race theory in this particular political race. And on one side, and you're hearing it, I heard it all day today, I saw it everywhere. The critical race is not taught in Virginia schools. Critical race theory is not taught in Virginia schools. The AP and the NBC are saying it. It's being said everywhere on the left. In fact, however, there is ample evidence that critical race theory very much influences and is injected into what is being taught in those schools. And these parents knew that. They came to know it. It may have had something to do with the kids being at home during the pandemic and the kids getting the parents getting a closer look at what their kids were learning. But that was out there, and the parents were right, and Youngkin was right, and the left and Terry McAuliffe and the rest of them were wrong on the facts. And as a result, people weren't going to vote for somebody who didn't think there was a problem. Well, exactly. Youngkin did. You know, so that's where that comes out. And of course, you know, you have people on the left and some, you know, chin pullers saying, well, it was the Republicans who injected race into this election. Baloney. Yeah. The critical race theory itself injects race into the lives of our school children. It should never have any influence, let alone being taught. Now people say, you could say technically, Tucker, it's not being taught in the sense that, you know, volumes have been written on critical race theory, and it's not been handed out as a textbook. But its influence and its tenets are in those schools.
I've never figured out what critical race theory is, to be totally honest, after a year of talking about it. They're teaching that some races are morally superior to others, that some are inherently sinful and some are inherently saintly, and that's immoral to teach that because it's wrong. That would be my view.
Well,
and I think most voters' view.
What's also wrong about it, Tucker, is that it rests on this idea that racism and racial discrimination permeates the experience of citizens in America, that we are inherently and almost incurably racist, and that it influences everything, and that it sees the world through that prism. It's misguided, to say the very least, and people have had enough of it. No doubt about it in my mind.
Brit Hume. It's sinister because he's smarter than that. Critical race theory, first of all, no one is saying that we're all... We are inherently racist. That it predicates everything in our lives. We're talking about the system. That our system is set up to benefit white people. It just is. From slavery on. Another topic for another day. The Tucker Carlson part of this is really what is most remarkable. I've never figured out what critical race theory is, to be totally honest, after a year of talking about it. And then, I mean, this entire clip was just straw-manning what critical race theory is. They're teaching that some races are morally superior to others. No, they're not. We are all equal. No one is saying that black people are superior to whites or white people are superior to blacks. No one. The only people who teach that are Tucker Carlson's cohort. The white supremacists, the organized white supremacists in our country. The members of the Proud Boys who advocate for Western civilization, which is code for white people. That some are inherently sinful and some are inherently saintly, and that's immoral to teach that because it's wrong. It would be immoral to teach that, absolutely, but that's not what's being taught. Neither critical race theory or any of this nonsense is being taught in public school. The fact is, conservatives have co-opted this, and they are now acting as though teaching anything about history or the very real racial components of American slavery, that is critical race theory. And the only thing it serves is to denigrate white people. Well, on large, 99.999% of people who owned slaves in America were white. And 100% of those slaves were black. There is a racial component. There is a racial thread of white supremacy that runs through American history. That it's still today, because the system was set up then, we're still dealing with the ramifications of it. And it's rich to watch a couple of white dudes talk about how everybody should just forget about race. Let's just move on, which is effectively the message. We don't have to teach our kids that. Let's just move on. No one's life is affected by racism anymore today. Of course, your life isn't affected by racism, Tucker Carlson, broccoli brain goof, Brit Hume, multi-millionaire, couple of rich white dudes talking about how, it's fine for me. Ugh, gross. What do you think, though? I'd love to know. You can call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see you on social media. You can connect with me. I'm at Dollemore just about everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, social media. And if I bring you value, please consider supporting my work here on the platform for as little as $2 a month. You can become a channel member. Click the join button below. See what's involved. I'd love to have you in the YouTube channel member family, growing every day. Thank you very much. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. Anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Until I do, be safe, be genuine, take care of one another.